previously, other than perhaps in a discussion of support doubles. But I think probably a better way to describe what we're doing and really have it be comprehensive is to use the. Well, that's not good. That's supposed to stay with the base. The cap doesn't want to come off. Okay, there we go. Is the header on your handout, which is bidding over opponent's takeout double, and I think that's really a better way to because that's really what we want. We want to have all of our understandings and agreements in place for what do we do when partner opens the bidding and there's a takeout double. So that's what we're doing today, and redouble is certainly going to be a big part of this. But we want you to keep in mind that while a double by the opponents opens the door to an additional bid that wouldn't have been available to you, i.e. redouble, that you don't necessarily have to redouble, and you may have better options. And so that's what we want to sort out for you today, is when you want to redouble, when you want to do something else, and what all of your bidding means, how your bidding changes with the takeout double. And keep in mind, and so our feeling about redouble is really, and how it has evolved over time, is it's right there with double. The most doubles way back in the day were penalty, or as we like to call it. I don't think so.
Oh, thank you. That's cool. Thank you. I appreciate
And then therefore, and so when we talk about a penalty redouble, that would be, oh yes, I do think so. So Al bids 4 spades, and Tom doubles them for penalty, saying, I don't think you can make that contract. And then, well, I don't think Al would ever redouble, but maybe his partner would. Nancy redoubles, says, oh yes, he can so make it. You don't know what he's about to get in the dummy. So, we're talking about penalty doubles and penalty redoubles. They don't have much use, especially at lower levels. We don't want to penalize low-level contracts very often, right? We don't know if we have enough defense, if the opponents only need to take 7 or 8 tricks. And same thing with redouble. And what I always tell people is, let's say that you are playing 4 hearts vulnerable, and the opponents decide to double you for penalty. From a match point standpoint, okay, so if you had just gotten to play your 4 hearts, if it's making, you're going to get 620, right? If it's got a double on it, now suddenly in duplicate scoring, it becomes a 790. We're talking about no over tricks, just making your contract, making your 10 tricks. If you bid and make 4 hearts doubled, you're getting a great result. You're already probably getting a top board or close to it. So to redouble this contract for penalty, it really serves no purpose. If you're curious, 4 hearts redoubled, vulnerable, is the very funny looking score of 1080.
Never seen that.
But you don't need to redouble. Now we're talking about a game contract here, but certainly at lower levels, it's just not going to serve much purpose. And actually at a higher level, if you were to redouble for penalty, what this might do is cause the opponents to run to a spot where they were thinking about sacrificing. What if they had bid and raised spades in a competitive auction? You bid hearts, they bid spades. You bid 4 hearts, and now somebody doubles you, thinking they can beat you in 4 hearts. Their partner, knowing you have a big spade fit, maybe your partner's got a distributional hand, and raise spades because of the big fit and some shape, and a hand that doesn't have any defensive value, now they run to 4 spades. And you may double them there, but this may be a good sacrifice, right? So, you know, we have some of these adventurous auctions where there's a lot of bidding at high levels. But the upshot is that we don't really want a lot of our doubles and redoubles to be penalty. So we're going to find different applications. And you know that most of our doubles at lower levels are some kind of takeout, right? So either a standard takeout double, or it's a support double, or a responsive double, or a negative double, whatever it is, it's going to typically to have some conventional meaning. Now, today we're not really talking about the conventional meanings of redouble so much. We are going to be talking about more of the natural meaning and what it means and what it leads to. But it's not conventional per se. You know, technically, maybe it would still be regarded as a penalty redouble, but that's not your intent, because you don't expect to get to play a low-level contract redouble. So we're going to be doing one of two things with redouble. Most often you're just showing values. And this can be done by the opener, but most of the time when we're talking about just a value showing redouble, we're usually talking about responder. And then the other possibility is that your redouble is conventional. And I can give you a few examples. I'm not planning to spend much time on these today, but if you're curious, if you heard any of these terms and you want to know what they are, we can at least define them. So, of course, is everybody comfortable with the support redouble? You can use that when you get a takeout double by the advancer. And so, since double is not available, if you want to show 3-card support for responders minor, you can use your support redouble, right? That's probably the most common type of conventional redouble that you'd be familiar with. Here's one.
Is there a point count with that? Is there a point count attached? Just
That's nothing to do with points. You're just showing support.
Okay.
Any hand that already opened a bidding can make a
Okay.
support redouble. Yeah. So, does anybody know about ropey? It's on your convention card. You ever seen it on the card?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you know what it stands for? Do you know when you use it?
Something about slams, when they bid a suit, they double and you're trying to find slam.
Okay.
Good job, Joanne.
So
More than I knew. Yeah.
let's say the opponents are, well, I guess before we talk about ropey, which totally comes up. Do you know about dopey?
That's what I.
We've had that.
These are
We
not
had
the
that
seven
from
dwarves.
We had this from the first Audrey Grant book, and we've never used it. We've never marked it.
It doesn't come up very often. People don't interfere in your
want it.
slam tries too often.
No.
But so sometimes it could be. So you know, let's say, you know, let's say that you have found a fit in a major, but the opponents have been interfering in your auction with diamonds, and in spite of your slam try, they still want to keep on bidding. So let's say your partner bids 4 no trump, and this person over here interferes 5 diamonds. Well, you can't give your normal key card response, can you? Because they've eaten up a couple of bids. You can't bid 5 clubs or 5 diamonds. So 1 or 4 or 0 or 3 responses to key card aren't available. So you need to do something different. You have to adjust the scale. So, dopey means double, 0. That's actually a 0, not a no. Pass, 1. It's not an I, it's a 1.
Never.
And associated, right? So 0 would be 0 or 3, and 1 would be 1 or 4. So this is how you fix your key card response, right?
What's the P?
So,
Pass.
so if they interfere 5 diamonds
Right
and you double,
So stupid. We don't-
you're showing 0 or 3 key cards.
Okay.
If you pass, which is fine because your partner's going to get to bid again, right? So pass is an okay call here. Now now you're showing 1 or 4, and your other responses you can make your normal response, right? You still have room to bid 5 hearts or 5 spades if you needed to show 2 without the queen or 2 with the queen, right? Well, ropey is if there's an interfering double, then redouble is 0 and pass is 1. And all of your other responses. Right? So if you ever saw that on your convention card and you wondered what in the world it was,
We did.
my guess is that you probably won't need to use it anytime soon. But if it should come up, that would be a type of conventional redouble. Has anybody ever heard of this one? It used to be on the convention card. I don't think it's still on there anymore.
No.
SOS redouble?
Same old shit.
Yeah, probably what it should be. So, if the opponents double you for penalty, and you're in a bad spot, and maybe this would be like maybe you bid a suit and your partner was going to pass because they just couldn't stay in your suit, didn't have a fit with you, but maybe there's a better place. So redouble, it's kind of hard to define an auction. Again, this one that doesn't come up very often, but we can redouble, which says, partner, go somewhere else. We're in a horrible spot. They've converted they want to penalize you in a suit, and I have a void in your suit. We can't play here. Something like that. Those are more obscure ones. You ever heard of this one?
Nope. Don't want to.
George-
Don't want to.
George Rosencrantz, it's a name you might have come across, from Mexico, I believe. World champion caliber player. This one actually could be a little more likely to come up. So you would see it on an auction. Now, again, you would have to agree to play it. But it would usually be made by advancer. So, if you saw an auction like that, what would you think? The meaning of redouble would be: we have a club opening, your partner overcalls a heart. This we know to be a negative double showing 4 spades. What is redouble? And again, we go back to the original question, which is, okay, if you have a good hand, a good enough hand for hearts that you think partner is making 1 heart, does redouble as a penalty redouble accomplish anything? No, because the opponents are not going to let you play it there. They're going to bid, right? So that meaning doesn't make any sense. Now, redouble could mean a bunch of other things. If you don't play Rosencrantz, it could just mean, well, I have some points, but I don't necessarily have any particular place to go. And that would be a situation where you can't raise partner's suit, right? So you probably don't have heart support.
Is it lead direct?
So, yeah, that's actually what it is. Believe it or not, it's lead directing.
Yay.
It's typically, you typically don't have 3-card support, but what you often have is something like honor doubleton. The perfect scenario for the Rosencrantz redouble would be if you had king doubleton of hearts. Can you picture partner having overcalled with ace queen fifth of hearts and then ending up on lead, but not wanting to lead hearts because they don't want to lead from ace queen and they're afraid that declare has the king and they're setting up the king? If this comes up, you can do something that you probably, many of you have heard me say you should never ever do, although it doesn't seem to stop you. You don't underlead aces against suit contracts. What if your partner showed an honor and that honor had to be the king? I mean, how many times have you ever had a hand where you had ace queen fifth and partner had king doubleton, and you could take 3 tricks in the suit or take a couple tricks and give partner a ruff, but you couldn't get it untangled because you had no idea that partner had that holding? Or even if you just had king fifth, you might not, what if your suit wasn't that good? King fifth or king jack fifth, and you didn't want to lead away from it because you were afraid of giving away a trick. But if you knew partner had the ace or the queen, that lead looks a lot more attractive, doesn't it? So, now, this is by agreement. So, make sure you have talked about this. It's not necessarily just standard. We shouldn't assume that if we see a redouble in this situation, that it's of the lead directing nature.
Does it go somewhere in here?
Again, on older versions of the convention card, it used to be on there, but normally you would probably just write it into special doubles.
And alert it? And alert it?
That should be alerted. So you can see these are some places where you can see redouble, finding a home for other uses that is not a penalty per se. But what we want to go back to is the original and most common place that you will see the redouble. And that's going to be with your partner opening the bidding and a takeout double by your right-hand opponent. And do you want to redouble? Here, as responder. So I have basically 5 bullet points on the redouble for you. And these are, I don't remember, these are probably not, at least they're not in a list form if they're woven into the handout. So, so this is something you probably want to take notes on. So let's start with the easy part. Redouble by responder shows at least 10 high card points. Not distribution, high card points. And on the upper end, it's unlimited. So you could have the rest of the deck. You could have a 20-point hand. But the minimum end is going to be 10. And why is redouble set at 10? Well, so what we're thinking here is what you want to be able to let your partner know who opened the bidding when your side has the balance of power, right? We have a lot of these auctions where everybody's bidding and the high cards in the deck may be split right at 20 per side, maybe give or take a point. But if you have even a slight majority of the high card points, then you want to, if at all possible, play the hand, or if the opponents play the hand, hopefully you have doubled them for penalty. Now, that's not absolutely mandatory, especially if that balance of power is not a big gap, right? I mean, if it's your side has 22 or 23 points and the opponents have, 17 or 18, that's a little closer call, and maybe nobody has a game on a hand like that. But you want to let partner know this is our hand, right? And so if we assume a minimum opening, and remember we always assume a minimum opening from partner until proven otherwise, we say, okay, partner opened a heart, well, partner's got 12 points. If it's better than that, we'll find out later. But we will assign for the time being 12 points to partner. If we have 10 or more, we can call this our hand, right? Because we now have at least 22 of the points, And in theory, this is our hand to play. It doesn't always work out that way, and we can't always double them if they have the contract. Sometimes they have a good fit, and in particular, if they have the boss suit, if they have the spades, they're always going to have the option of outbidding us, right? So keep that in mind. But that's essentially what you're saying. Partner, we have the balance of power. And you start off with that. Your redouble implies a defensive hand. Now, we're going to look at some hands here coming up where you will have a judgment call. And you can try to decide, do I want to redouble or do I have another bid? And we're going to try and help you make those decisions. So I don't want you on autopilot and automatically redoubling anytime partner opens and there's a takeout double and you have 10 points. Because redouble may not be the best description of your hand.